A-level music listening paper. So we are looking at this part of the curriculum where you would write a 2-hour listening paper under the half A section. So full on AS you will write this, as well as if you are doing your A level you would have had to have done this in AS level. So this counts for both levels, although you only do it once. So I am deep diving into the November 2024 paper 1 pre-pass paper, and I'm looking specifically at section A. Now section A has everything to do with compositional techniques and performance practice in the Baroque period. We are going to skip question 1 because that has everything to do with the small set work, and that depends on year group, so we're not going to look at that. We're going to look at something that's more focused towards all years, 2025, 2026 and beyond included. So we are looking at the questions 2 and 3 where you have to listen to a performance of 2 different ensembles or groups based on the same insert and same work, so to speak. So we are going to listen to a track 2 and track 3 today based on performance A and performance B. This is just how everything is labeled according to Cambridge. And then we are going to answer the questions that they give us. So section A is very notorious for being, I think, very silly in question 1. They only ask you 5 marks on one of your 2 section A set works. But we're not going to deal with that today. We're going straight into question 2. Now question 2 has to do with just one of the performances of the insert work, and you have to basically analyze the score, read the score, see what's going on, and it also gives you a time to really listen to that performance as many times as possible, because then when it comes to question 3 and you have to do a comparison between the 2 performances, you would have heard the performance A so many times that you would know at least the differences between performance B and A, and then also maybe pick up on some similarities and make some judgments, according to which one, if any, does the period performance or performance practice better than the other, or if they're relatively the same, pitch-wise, tempo-wise, what of it. So let's jump into our questions. We're looking at question 2. And it does say listen to performance A on the recording provided. Now that is track 2 on the CD. And it says this is a movement for flute, oboe and violin, as well as bassoon and continuo. So look at the score, which you'll find in the separate insert, and then read through the questions. So they ask us to firstly refer to the music from the beginning to bar 9, and the superscript numbers mean which beats in the bar. So bar 9, beat 1. So first things first, they ask us to identify the type of descending scale played by the flute in bar 3. Then they say by the end of this passage the music is modulated to B flat major. What is the relationship of this key to the tonic of the whole movement? So you first need to figure out what is the key of the whole movement. Yeah, the key signature is there and everything, so we just need to figure it out. And then we have to say what is its relationship to B flat major. Then they ask us to precisely identify the harmonic device played by the bassoon and continuo from bars 18 to bar 19, the second beat. Then name the key and cadence at bar 36, beat 4 to bar 37, beat 1. So we have to specifically name the key and the cadence, which shouldn't take up as much space as they're asking us to take up on the page, but okay. Then D, name one device and one violin technique using bars 43 to 47, the third beat. And finally, describe how the flute, oboe and violin interact in bars 9, the second beat, to bar 22, the third beat. Okay, so refer to bar numbers in your answers. So when they ask you to refer to bar numbers, please do refer to bar numbers, because that will basically count half of your marks. So if you have 3 examples of bar numbers and explain that, what's happening in those bar numbers, 3 bar numbers, 3 explanations grouped together, that'll give you your 60 marks. Okay. That's really what Cambridge wants here in question 2. So what we're going to go ahead and do is listen to track 2 for the first time. And remember, you can listen to this as many times as possible, as many times as you want, because you take this exam at your own pace. It's not like IGCSE where you have to do everything in a timed time. Here, of course, you have to complete the whole exam within 2 hours, but it's your choice. If you want to start with your essays first, you can. If you want to start with this section first, you can. And if you want to start specifically with section A question 2, you can. And just remember to give yourself an appropriate amount of time. Yes, you can take your time, but make sure that you are able then to complete the whole paper in the 2 hours. So yes, you can listen to performance a 10 times before you even answer your questions. That's great. But we're going to listen to it. And however many times you need to listen to it on this video, you can just go back, answer your questions. We'll regroup and see what the answers may be. So after listening to that, we can identify the type of descending scale played by the flute in bar 3. So on paper we can see, as well as we can hear, that is definitely the scale of the melodic minor. We can also say the natural minor, because the melodic minor descending is, the same as the natural minor ascending and descending. So we can go ahead and put that down. I personally would write the melodic minor, but you will also get marks if you write down the natural minor. Then they ask of us, what is the relationship of B flat major to the tonic of the movement? Well, we can see that the tonic of the movement is definitely G minor. So B flat major would be the relative major thereof. So write down a full sentence I would do. B flat major is the relative of G minor. Okay, or you can say just relative major, I guess, because they take 1 word or 2 word answers. But I still feel very much like full sentences are the way to go. Okay, then we have to precisely identify that harmonic pedal in the continuo and the bassoon lines. So 18 to 19, and it ends in the second beat of bar 19, and that is definitely a pedal point, but not only that, it's the dominant pedal. So you can say dominant pedal point or dominant pedal, and you will then get your 2 marks there. Then we'll also name the key and cadence at bars 36 to 37, and that is definitely an imperfect cadence. It goes from tonic to dominant, and that is the key of E flat major there. Then we have to name 1 device and 1 violin technique. Specifically, they even bold that out for us, used in bars 43 to 47. So there are a couple of devices that we can see going on there. We just have to choose one of them. First things first, very easy, there's repetition in bar 45. I would just put that down, then it's done. Then I just have to go to a violin technique. But there are some other devices if you haven't spotted that one. There's definitely an ascending sequence, which is a compositional device. That does happen in the violin part in bars 46 to 47. But just because it happens in the violin part doesn't mean it's a violin technique. Like any instrument can play an ascending sequence, right? So that doesn't make it specifically a violin, and it has nothing to do with technique. So that's still a device, still a compositional device. There's also descending sequential writing in the continuo in bars 46 and 47. But I mean, the most easy thing to write down there for device things. Happens to be repetition in bar 45, and that's what I would do. But you can choose any of the others and you'd still get your mark there. Then we need a violin technique. So this has anything to do with, your bowing technique or finger technique or whatnot. They won't ask you too specific violin related things because not everyone is a violinist, of course. But here we do see that we have triple stopping in bars 43 to 45. Then lastly, in question 2E, we need to describe how the flute, oboe and violin interact in those bars 9 to 22, and then we do need to refer to bar numbers. So like I said previously before we heard the extract, 3 groups of bar numbers, 3 groups of actually explaining what that means, and then you will get your 6 marks there. You can't just have bar numbers forever because they're not going to give you a maximum of 6 marks just for 6 bar number groups, because they're asking you to describe. So descriptions alone won't work, bar numbers alone won't work. You need to have them together. So a balance, 3 and 3, description, bar numbers, then you'll be good to go. So right at the start there, bar 9B2, the flute and the oboe have the same theme in thirds. So if you have that bar group and just say they have the third specifically and the instruments, you will get 2 marks there, 1 and 1. Okay, that already puts us a third of the way through the question. So that's just a nice example of how to start yourself off, and this is how you continue for the rest of the answering for the question. Then at bar 12B2, the violin has 3 iterations or echoes, we can say, of a short motive from the theme. And the violin also includes double stopping here. So you can have your bar numbers, what happens? Another 2 marks. From bars 13 to 16, both on B3, so bar 13B3 to bar 16B3, the oboe imitates the flute. So they imitate each other in canon form, very Baroque-like, and they repeat each other at a half a bar in length, if that makes sense, before continuing with the theme in thirds. Then after that, so this is bar 16B3, the flute has a solo while the violin has longer notes. And this is also a nice easy thing to say. From bar this, description, violin does this, flute does that, another 2 marks done. And it's quite an easy 2 marks to get there. The violin also has suspensions there with those long notes, and it continues in thirds with the flute again from the second beat of bar 20. So any of those bar descriptions, so either bars on its own or groups of bar numbers, paired with its description will get you your marks there. So that's that for question 2. Then we move on to question 3. And there's very simple things happening in question 3. There will always be a 3A and a 3B. Now you have to compare the performance tracks here, performance A and performance B. So 3A says, comment on the use of dynamics and on the overall sound of each performance. Refer to bar numbers in your answer. So this is kind of related to 2E. We'll explain now. And then 3B says, compare the 2 performances. Now it's going to be not like you compared it before or spoke about the 2 before. So in 3A, they asked us to comment on the use of dynamics. So here it'll be everything but. So B, it says you may refer to instrumentation, tempo, pitch, ornamentation, articulation, or any other features you may consider important. You should not, however, refer to the dynamics or the overall sound of each performance because you've already tackled that in A. So what we need to know that in 3A is that, yay, 6 marks, but we will then need to compare. So we can't say everything about performance A and then nothing about performance B or vice versa. We need at least, now 3 groups of bar numbers, again with 3 different descriptions. And they need to match, kind of like with 2E. But we want to have it nice and balanced. So if we say 2 things about performance A with the bar numbers and description, and 1 thing about performance B with bar numbers and description, we should be fine. As well as the other way around, we can say 1 thing about performance A, bar, description, should be fine, and 2 things about performance B, bar, description. And it should get us our 6 marks there. So to be on the safe side, we do that. If you ever want to be extra safe and you want to give 2 things about A, 2 things about B, bar numbers, description, to make sure that you're at least getting a minimum of 6, that's great, because of course the maximum mark is 6, and sometimes Cambridge can be quite fickle or really want you to be very detailed in your answer, and maybe you're not able to do so with a 2 and 1 factor or 1 and 2 factor about performance A and B. So what we're going to do is you by yourself are going to play that track 2, which is performance A, still some more. And then you by yourself, you're about to play what I'm going to put down here for you now, performance B, which is track 3. And you're going to compare them. Okay, and then we will regroup. And then let's see if our answers match. So when we look at the overall sound and the dynamics of each of the performances, we can definitely see that performance B's interpretation has more dynamic contrast than performance A. Performance A makes some dynamic contrast to achieve balance in the ensemble, and when the flute is playing, the ensemble is quite quieter. But performance A is generally louder than performance B. The overall sound of performance A is brighter, whereas performance B is a bit darker. And performance A is definitely then more balanced than performance B. So when it comes down to bar numbers and backing ourselves up here, we can definitely go ahead and say that performance B sometimes has a diminuendo followed by a forte. And this can be backed up by an example of bar numbers, which you can say directly bar 2 or even bars 10 to 11. It also has terrace dynamics in bars 7 and 8. In performance A, there are also terrace dynamics, but this comes across in the violin solo where it plays like forte followed by piano. We can see this in bars 12 to 13. So for instance, if I said something like that where I gave 2 facts about performance B with the bar numbers and 1 fact about performance A with the bar numbers, I would be getting my marks there. But those aren't the only things that I can say. I can definitely say some other things. There are some more things on the memo, but also there are some other things that you might want to bring out that might not be on the memo or mark scheme. But if it is musically sound, Cambridge will definitely consider giving you your marks there. But it can't be nonsense. It has to be something real and true. But that would give you your 6 marks there, 3A. If we move on to 3B, they're more looking at how you write and what you're saying, considering everything. So it's not a 10 facts for 10 marks type question here. This is where candidates mostly struggle because they're not really sure what to do. But hey, we've had these types of questions for a while. We'll probably still have them in the future because the syllabus hasn't changed, and I don't think it will change anytime soon for AS or A level. So we're stuck with this. Let's keep looking at what Cambridge asks. Let's keep looking at what they give us in the memo, how they want us to look at these things, how they want us to write. Because like I always say, and I've said it before in previous videos and I'll say it now, how you write is definitely more important than what you write, but don't be writing nonsense. So yeah, you definitely have to compare the two performances. You have to refer to at least some of those things, if not all, to maximize your marks. But it's really how you take a look at everything overall and make your statements and really place yourself in the top category here. So this is more like an essay type question, although it's a short question. But it's like how you've been marked in essays. Not 35 facts for 35 marks or 30 facts for 30 marks. No, it's how you write your things, how you consider things. What exactly are you talking about? Are you talking about superficial things? Are you making good musical notes on performance practice, or what do you say? So this question revolves a lot around that. So yes, it's about what you hear and also about how you write it, but please do be sure that this one has to go a bit more in depth than the others. And you can't just think, okay, I'm writing 10 facts, because less than 10 facts can actually give you 10 marks here, and more than 10 facts written badly or just pulled out of nowhere, might get you less than half your marks. So this one you really have to go into with an open mind, a smart mind, an interrogative mind, and you definitely have to use your critical thinking skills here. So at the very basic level, Cambridge would really like you to understand here that the two performances are similar in instrumentation. Both use Baroque flute, or we can call them the flauto dolce, or my favorite instrument, the recorder. Both also use harpsichord and cello in the continuo line, and in terms of tempo, performance B is slightly faster than performance A. And when we look at ornamentation, both performances do add short trills at cadence points. So even those types of similarities, Cambridge would really like you to see that, and that's the baseline. They also do notate what better answers would add, or what answers in the highest mark category would say. So in the highest category, they do expect critical thinkers to notice that in terms of tempo, the violinist in performance B slows the tempo a little bit intentionally in the first half of bar 13, then much more so later on in bar 45. There's also then an accelerando in bar 46 through to an up-tempo during bar 47. Regarding ornamentation again, performance A has mordents in bar 29, bar 35 as well as 41. So better answers would note that. Then generally speaking, it's also very good to see where one is playing at Baroque pitch, maybe one's playing at modern pitch. Sometimes they do play at the same pitch and then it's hard to tell what is what. But here we can definitely hear that performance A is higher than performance B, meaning that performance B is a semitone lower, and then that would be Baroque pitch, right? But just because something is at Baroque pitch doesn't make it a better performance, so to speak. So if you're not sure, don't make a comment on because this is at Baroque pitch, it must be more informed or historically accurate or better performed in terms of performance practice, because that might not be the case. Think also about your articulations, your phrasing, also on top of that instrumentation, although the instrumentation here is kind of the same. You also think about your tempo and everything together, because yeah, sometimes just playing on period instruments doesn't make it periodally correct. In performance A, there's also some vibrato in the violin, and that's in the suspended notes in bar 16 to 17. Now, vibrato is usually just a decoration thing in the Baroque period. You don't use it extensively, and something like this may also then feed into how you're going to say, if you're going to say that one is a little bit more informed than the other. Now, in this specific case, I definitely would say that performance B is more historically accurate than performance A. But it's because of all these types of things coming in. It's not just because of the pitch. There are other things involved here. But any of those things you may wish to write down, remember to also include your bar numbers here. Include why you say something, so definitely an explanation. And how you write is very important here. So this one might take a longer time to nail or get or understand or just completely get your 10 out of 10 marks here, because of all the thinking that goes into it. And you definitely have to practice not just one past paper, but many. And also not just past papers, but other types of Baroque piece performances. You need to go ahead and do these comparisons on your own, in collaboration with your tutor or teacher, friends, and just make sure that you are practicing this the whole time. Because just like essay writing, or just like working things out on your specific instrument, you need to practice it, and this is no different. Cambridge really does get very intense at the AS and A levels, so do be sure that you're not cheating your way around this. There is no real type of, oh, tick, tick, tick box here with, okay, I say this, then I say that, then I say that. You really have to deep dive into this type of content. So I hope that this does give you a little bit more insight, and it does inspire you to go and compare some more Baroque performances or performances of Baroque pieces on your own. So all the best with your Cambridge preparation when it comes to music at the AS level for 2025. And I do hope that this has been helpful for you. I will upload the November 2024 paper 1-1 section A, the questions 2 and 3 on this very same thing, so that you can take a listen as well. Remember that you can listen to these tracks as many times as possible. I would advise you though to listen to performance A many more times in the beginning, and then listen to performance B. Don't try to listen to, okay, performance A, now performance B, because your brain is going to get confused. Train it well, listen a lot to performance A, then when you do listen to Performance B, your brain will automatically already know at least the basic similarities and differences. So that's it from me for today. All the best with your preparation, as I say, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!